Welcome, everybody. Another episode of League One on the Rocks. Tonight, we are going straight into the semifinal previews. Before we get into any of all that kind of stuff, we have League One news. We have breakdowns from the quarterfinals. I mean, this is going to be an awesome episode. A lot of information coming at you. We're going to bring it all to you here pretty quick. My name is Rich. You can find me on Twitter at I'm Rich, but I'm not. That is Brian. You can find him on Twitter at Mediocre Ace. Brian, how's it going?
Oh, doing good. A little bit better than how I felt coming home yesterday from the pep rally. It was a good time. But
It was a good time. And if you have not met Brian's dad yet, I got to tell you, he's a cool guy, and I'm not just saying that, like, he's a cool guy.
yeah, he's awesome, and it was fun to have him come out last night and be able to meet Dominic and some of the other people that were there from the club. So it was
Yeah,
a good time. It was really good to have that put on. I love
yeah,
going to
it
Beer
was
Hin too. That's any excuse to get out there is a good excuse.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. We got to see plenty of our friends, that usually fill Warner Park. We got to see the players, have some good conversations with them. Dom made his way around the entire room saying hi to everybody, having conversations along the way. We got to talk to the assistant coaches. I mean, it was just a great time. That's the kind of stuff that you loved about lower league soccer because you get to have those face-to-face conversations with the players, the coaching staff, the front office. I mean, that's the stuff that you love.
Hmm. Oh yeah, you don't get that with MLS clubs.
No,
You get that with the lower leagues, which is why we love it. It's just part of it. So,
yeah,
um, real credit to them for coming out to it too, because I know it's probably a fan idea that turned into something really cool where the entire team was out there. So
yeah, and as long as we're mentioning fan organized, let's send a shout out to Chip over at Walking 90 for organizing the event. So thank you, Chip, for organizing that. That was a lot of fun.
definitely, yeah, we've got people in the live chat already.
Oh my gosh.
Tim ranting Blue Penguin Media, um, saying, "Holy hell, what happened to Brian?" Then I don't know, man. My dad took all the cool. That's what happened. And then Allison asking which one was my dad. He was the one that looks a lot like me, just a little bit older version of me.
Okay,
Um,
but while we're on that, who else does he also look like?
he also looks like Jurgen Klopp, and
Yep.
yeah, Bob, one of the um, big organizers and members of the Liverpool supporters group that also meets at Beer Hin, loves to make that joke. Like joke and call him Johan. So Jurgen Klopp's brother, but it's pretty cool. He gets a kick out of it every time my dad shows up. So also another
And
cool thing.
he even walked up to the table because he had a picture of him with Klopp, and so we had the side by side comparison there. And I got to tell you, your dad is a total doppelganger.
Oh yeah, I think so. Even
Yeah,
the beard,
yeah,
the grays in the beard is about the exact same position too. So
yeah. It was
dead
cool.
ringer. He said we should make some money going around and doing appearances, but
And a lot of people were stopping by to say hi to your dad. I felt like we were in the midst of a celebrity.
I know, I know they love him out there.
What are you drinking tonight?
I just have water with me tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, went a little bit hard at the thing yesterday, so my stomach was not feeling terrific this morning. So I'm going to stick with water until Saturday, and then Saturday will be that'll be the next drinking day.
Yeah. I am gonna go with the Czech beer again tonight. I'll finish those guys off. I am looking forward to Saturday. I have friends that are coming in from out of town, and I bought tickets, everything. Like some of them wanted to go over to the berm, so I bought tickets to let them go experience that. I have others that are going to be in seat backs, so yeah, it's going to be such a fun time.
It should be, yeah. Hopefully the
Yeah,
weather isn't as bad as it's being made out to be, but I mean the beginning of the season for Omaha was worse than what we're going to see on Saturday. So
yeah, I agree. And even if the weather was going to get bad, not going to stop me. I'll still
no,
be there.
Oh no, I'll be there.
Yeah. Well, we did have some we have several news pieces coming out of League One headquarters. So it was also announced earlier this week that Spokane Velocity announced their ownership group. And if you look at the names that are included on that list, there's some celebrity names on that list. It was
Hmm.
pretty surprising to see.
Oh yeah, I mean that's really good though. Anytime you can get that celebrity status in and get a little bit more name and face recognition for the league, that's always a good thing.
You have former NFL players Trey Flowers and Donnie Jones, Gonzaga athletes Annie Hawkins and Triana Allen. I mean, there's some names in this list. It's pretty cool to see. Trying to scroll through this stuff, and it's cool to see local celebrities. Well, I mean, even national celebrities joining into the USL League One community.
Yeah.
Love to see that.
Hmm.
And then we also had the announcement of another club that could be joining League One as soon as 2025. This is going to be the Texoma club down in Texas. They're going to be playing in Sherman, Texas, in Bearcat Stadium down there in Sherman, Texas. And if you don't know where Sherman, Texas is, it's northeast of Dallas, pretty close to. Oh shoot, I can't remember what that city was. Whatever, but it's northeast of Dallas, so essentially a Dallas club right there.
Yeah. I mean, that's more teams in the league. It seems like 25 is going to be the big year for growth in League One, which is awesome. I mean, I think that'll put the if as long as nothing else kind of happens with anybody going up or going down or anything, I think that puts us at 15 teams by the start of 25. So, hey, the more teams, the better, and the more competitive the playoffs will end up being. So, love to see that, and hopefully they keep coming in.
Yeah, because by 25 we'll have Texoma, Portland, Brooklyn, Antelope Valley, Santa Barbara, and Spokane. That's 6 clubs right there.
Six more, and then we lose one this year, so it'll be
Mhm.
11. So 17,
17
17 clubs.
if everything goes according to plan.
Yep. Love to
That's
see it.
gonna be cool. Yeah.
They're going to have to rethink and probably split these into conferences at some point, which would
Yep.
be cool. I mean, I would love to see conferences in League One and maybe get it a little bit closer to what the championship sort of looks like.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Um, as we get into the next piece, we went from more like happier news to this is sort of like a bummer news. We had 2 clubs that had announcements related to coaching vacancies within their club. The first off is going to be Greenville. They had John Harkes stepping down after 5 seasons with the club.
Hmm.
Obviously, a very historic presence both within the Greenville club, the community, and the USL League One community. Um, so that's not fun to see, but I mean, you still, I don't know, you still want to root for him because he's going into retirement. He's moving into the next stage of his career. Hopefully, things go well for him.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, a legend in not just League One circles, but U.S. men's national team circles. So
Yep.
um, always sucks to see somebody like him leave. But you also, I mean, he probably felt like he's done about as much as he can, and he is one of the most, if not the most successful coach in League One. So
Yeah.
5 seasons, 5 playoff appearances, one title, uh, 2 finals appearances. That I mean, his resume speaks for himself. So sad to see him go, but excited to see what the next chapter in Greenville Triumph history holds.
Exactly. I mean, we've been making those jokes about him moving on and filling the coaching vacancies that we see across the country. So, sort of one of those things where you joke about it enough, and then when it happens, you're like, "Oh crap, that sucks."
I take it back. Just say I take everything back.
Well, outside of Greenville, we also had a coaching vacancy pop up in Lexington with Nacho Novo, the interim um, coach out there is not going to be returning to the club next season. He was filling in after Sam Stockley stepped down to focus on his role as the sporting director there. So
Mhm.
it's a bummer to see Nacho leaving the club too, because I mean, just knowing the influence that he had in that community with the fans, with the players, that's certainly not a person that you want to see leave the club. But
Yep.
hopefully, he moves on to bigger and better things too.
Mhm. Yeah, I always want to see these guys when they make the decision to leave League One or to leave the clubs that they're at. Hopefully, they're doing it for the right reasons, and hopefully, none of it is a bad thing that they're leaving. Obviously, sucks in the short term for these clubs with two big influences leaving there, but um, you also wish them the best in any endeavor that they're going to be heading into. So
Yep. Well, outside of league news, we can jump straight into the quarterfinal reviews from last week. The first match we had was between Charlotte Independence and Greenville, and Charlotte took the victory 3-2, but it was not the easiest victory for them.
no, I mean we kind of talked about it on the show last week. You knew Greenville was going to come out swinging. You knew that they know how to play in the playoffs, and they were two pretty evenly matched teams. Like we said last week, it was um, best on best. I mean, Greenville's defense and Charlotte's attack, but Greenville definitely came out and played a style that I was not expecting, and really brought the fight to Charlotte early in that match. Was not expecting that to happen, but it caught him off guard, and Greenville put up a hell of a fight. But in the end, Charlotte just a little bit too loaded with talent to overcome that for Greenville.
Yeah, and I even texted you during that match because when Charlotte scored in the 74th, no, what was it? Oh man. I texted you in there somewhere because I thought that your prediction was pretty close to coming true. Um but
Yeah.
yeah, ultimately Charlotte did take the victory in regulation time.
Hmm. Yeah. I think I said 2-2 in penalties, and Charlotte wins in penalties.
Yeah,
So I got the Charlotte part right, just not
you did.
not the actual the way it went down, which I will admit that was a little bit of a shot to try to call that one, but you got to take chances. You don't uh
Exactly.
you don't win if you don't try. So,
Yep. And then following that match, we had the second quarterfinal match between Northern Colorado hosting Forward Madison.
mhm.
A lot of hype going into this one. Um,
Yeah.
and Northern Colorado took the victory with a 4-1 score there for full time there.
Yeah.
Um, this was close for a long time.
Super deceptive final score.
Yeah.
I think Madison came out, and again, what we talked about last week, they really came out and played physically and frustrated Northern Colorado for long stretches of that match. Um, and they did what a 6 seed needs to do to a 3 seed. You get out and you frustrate them, and you try your best to jump out on the front foot, which they did. But this was another one where I think it just talent wise, Madison is behind Northern Colorado, and there's only two teams that really stack up really well with Northern Colorado, and they're the two teams that finished above them. So,
Yeah.
um, I mean, it Madison's a talented team. It just Northern Colorado, they have been on fire this season, so no shame in losing that, and obviously, congrats to Northern Colorado. They move on and get a uh, a shot at NCFC.
Yep. And speaking of NCFC, we can jump straight into the semifinal previews this weekend. First match is actually going to be between Union Omaha and Charlotte, and that's going to be Saturday evening at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. Um, these two have faced off 3 times already this season. This is gonna be Charlotte's 3rd time visiting Werner Park this season.
Yeah. In the previous matches, week 6 was the first matchup between these two teams, with Omaha being victorious 1-0. Week 12 being the second one, with Charlotte coming out and defeating Union Omaha 3-0. And week 30, Omaha putting the uh, season series to bed with a 4-1 victory. Um, a lot of two high scoring matches and one not so high scoring, but it seems like these teams have gotten the best of each other throughout the season here, and it was really well spaced out too, which I like to see a little bit better. I like to see the space between when they play each other, because I mean, you don't want to play the same team 2 weeks apart, and generally you'll get the same outcome. So it was nice to see him so far apart.
Yeah, and when Charlotte comes to town, this is gonna be the first time that Union Omaha has hosted a playoff match since winning the championship in 2021.
Hmm.
And this is gonna be Charlotte's first appearance in the semifinals since joining the league last season. They did make the playoffs last season, but they did not advance past the first round. So, man, this is whenever Charlotte and Union Omaha play, I get very nervous because of Charlotte's potential.
Hmm.
Um, but I have to think that there's an obvious advantage in this match, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. When we look at the trends for both of the clubs coming into the match, there's some big ones coming in here. Union Omaha has won their last 10 home matches in a row. There have been 3 or more goals scored in each of Union Omaha's last 6 matches, and Union Omaha has not, uh they have successfully scored a goal in every single home match this season. So you know there's gonna be goals in this game.
Hmm.
And in each of the last 6 home matches for Union Omaha, both sides have scored. So you know that Charlotte's gonna be scoring too.
Yep.
Um, I think, man, I mean, there's been more goals scored in the second half of Union Omaha's last 6 home matches, so it's going down to the wire. When you look at Charlotte, they've won 1 of their last 5 away matches, so little shaky. They haven't been the best away club all season, but to finish out their season with just 1 win in their last 5 kinda gets you a little nervous for them.
Yeah, it
Um,
it does for sure.
yeah.
I mean, if we go ahead and look at how these teams have done throughout the regular season, at home, Union Omaha is the the best home team in the league, with an 11-3-2 record. Um, Obviously, playing really well down the stretch, and that win streak still being intact, and the unbeaten streak going back. What was that? July was the last time
Yeah.
Omaha dropped a match. So still riding that high. And you have Charlotte coming in on the bottom half of the table as far as their away ranking. They sit in eighth place in away rankings with a 3-6-7 record. So um, pretty wild swings for Charlotte away from home. They also concede almost 2 goals a match when they're playing away from home. So I mean that in this league, that I mean that's tough. It is, you're conceding that many goals and only scoring a little over 1 goal per match away from home. That's always going to be tough, obviously, and only kept one away sheet, or one away clean sheet. So they have a bit of an uphill climb, but they do have the caliber players and firepower to be able to turn that around when it's needed. And this, if there's any ever a time for your big guns to step up, the playoffs. That's when you want it.
Yeah, and the strength in Charlotte is their combination play amongst. I mean, if you, let's go through the list of players they have: Corey Bennett, Trezor Mbuyu, Gabriel Oberton, Miguel Ibarra, um, Joel Johnson. I mean, if you go down that roster, those guys are good individually, but their true strength is how they combine with each other as they move up the field. And that's what truly scares me as a Union Omaha fan heading into this match, because I know that as they go up the field, yeah, they can certainly score in their own right. But if they decide to lay the ball off to one of their teammates, one of those guys is going to be just as deadly in front of the net.
Mhm. Yeah, and I mean it's definitely something that we have to point out that when they did play in week 30, Charlotte was missing a couple of their players. Gabriel Oberton was out for that match, and um, damn, who was the other one? I had just had him in my mind. Um, was it Corey Bennett? Either way,
Oh,
two
yeah,
of their starters out the last time that they played as well. So
yeah.
um, that's always going to hurt, especially with a club like Charlotte, whose strength is in their attacking numbers. So,
Yeah, I remember looking at that starting lineup now that you mentioned that and thinking, "What the heck? Why are they starting?" Because I think Overton started on the bench, and I don't even think that Bennett played in that one, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong on that. But yeah, to see that those high caliber players were left off the starting roster, you can see how much of an influence they have on the outcome of a match just in their absence.
mhm. Yeah, it was those. Corey Bennett subbed on in the 90th minute, and
Oh, okay.
Gabriel Oberton in the oh no Corey. Either way, Corey Bennett and Gabriel Oberton subbed in. They were not
Yeah.
actually starting the match. So yeah, um, Tim also pointing out in chat, he says, "Fun fact: the better seeded team is 11-3 all time in USL League One playoff matches."
Hmm.
So obviously, with Union Omaha getting the first seed, the history is really on their side, being the only team that is at the top. So 11-3 all time. You take that history and those odds any day of the week.
Yeah. And both of these teams seem to get stronger as the match goes on, because Union Omaha, when you look at their scoring record, by 15-minute increments as the match goes on, even looking at the first half and second half, Union Omaha throughout the entire regular season scored 23 goals in the first half. In the second half, they scored 38 goals. So that's an obvious, um, increase there. For Charlotte, they scored 23 in the first half and 27 in the second half. But even so, when you look at the last half hour of their scoring, Union Omaha scored 40% of their goals in the last half hour, and Charlotte scored 42% of their total goals in the last half hour. So both of these clubs score very late in the match.
Mhm.
This one's going to go down to the wire.
Yeah, and I mean it's playoff soccer. If it wasn't going down to the wire, I mean, you it wouldn't be playoff soccer, right?
Yeah,
Especially in this when you have the highest seeding teams all moving on. There's a reason these four teams are in the semifinal. They were the best all season, and um, I think we'll definitely see that. Really weird to see. What's surprising for me to see that Charlotte scores so many goals in the second half. I would think that they would be a lot, I don't want to say more well rounded as far as that they're not good in the first half, because that's not true. They do score quite a few goals in the first half as well, but a little bit back heavy as opposed to where I thought they would be a little bit more front heavy with the amount of talent that they have.
Yeah. And you can't deny the obvious quality they have in net with Austin Pack. That guy has
Hmm.
been just lights out this entire season. Constantly in the race for the Golden Glove. Obviously, he didn't win it, but he
Right.
was very close to winning it. And you have to believe he's going to be not only giving Union Omaha trouble, but giving Charlotte a boost.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean, there's definitely a disparity. I mean, we talked about um, goals in the last 30 minutes of a match. Goals scored, and goals allowed. Union Omaha in their in the final 30 minutes of the match, and this is even just at home, are giving up in their 22 matches 10 goals in the last 30 minutes of the match. So Omaha has had an issue with letting teams score on them late. For some reason, they seem to get, if they get a lead, they don't sit on it very well. Um, which against a team like Charlotte, who can score late and does score late, that's a scary proposition.
Yeah, that's going to be something to keep an eye on too. You know that Union Omaha has been working on that defense to shore up the that late focus, the
Hmm.
issues with their focus late in matches. Um, they have done better in recent weeks though, because they haven't been giving up a whole lot of goals. Now they did have a bye week last week, for obvious reasons, but if you look at the matches prior to the bye week and the goals allowed in their previous 5 matches, they only gave up 3 goals.
Hmm. Yeah.
So they're doing a good job of decreasing the amount of goals they allow. And if you look even further, let me look into the times of those goals. Um, in week 31, so when they played in Madison, Madison scored. Oh, Madison did not score. That's right. Let's see. When they conceded a goal, Charlotte, they scored in the 21st minute.
Hmm.
Um, North Carolina scored in the 12th minute, and Central Valley scored in the 56th. So they were doing a much better job of preventing goals from being scored in those closing moments of the match. And that's what you want to see. You want to see those changes made. We saw the changes obviously made at half season or mid season so that they could continue going on that win streak coming in. But now when we saw the defensive issues that were being highlighted in multiple matches, one right after another, they obviously took the time to address those defensive concerns, and it's paying off.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. And if you flip the script and kind of really look at where Charlotte gives up the majority of their goals, surprisingly enough, it is right before halftime. From the 30th to the 45th minute, they're conceding almost 30% of their total goals inside the last 15 minutes of the first half. So um, I know we talked about last week as well, winning the final 15 and the first 15 between the first and the second halves, and how big of a boost that can be for teams. Um, Unfortunately for Charlotte, they don't handle that first half ending very well, um, and not terrific coming out of halftime either. I mean, they're allowing 19% coming out of halftime. So
Oof.
it, I mean, it's tough when you do um, when you come out that way. But then again, with the amount of firepower that Charlotte has, that no lead is truly safe against that team.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't think Omaha fans are going to be comfortable with any sort of lead until the final whistle blows.
Yeah, I agree. And Tim in the YouTube chat is bringing up a good point in that last match. Charlotte also played without their captain Clay Dimmick,
Hmm.
which I mean he's on a season ending injury there. Um, so obviously we want him to recover as quickly as possible for next season and everything. But yeah, that's obviously another big presence in their team that they're missing.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean it's obviously something that they have moved around or moved on from, and have found ways to get past it. So um, I don't foresee it being a huge issue for them, um, because the team is good even without Captain Clay Dimmick, and I'm sure he'll be, if not there with the team for this one, he'll definitely be watching it, and I think they'll know that as well.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the obvious source of advantage in this match. And if you're thinking it's the fact that Omaha is playing at home, sure, yeah, it certainly has to do with them playing at home. It has to do with the dimensions of Union Omaha's home field.
Hmm.
With Union Omaha playing on a small field the way that they do, I you have to believe that gives them the advantage, and it shows in the way that they played against them in week 30. Not only were they missing those key personnel in their roster, but they're playing on a smaller field. Charlotte needs space to work with. But if you're playing on a field like Warner has, you don't get the luxury of space. It's kind of like when you go from playing outdoor soccer to that first week or two of playing indoor, where it's just so fast paced and
Hmm.
it's a totally different style of soccer that you have to get to used to very, very quickly. This is exactly what Charlotte is facing because those players combine together really well, as we've already mentioned earlier in the preview. But a key ingredient to their combination is the ability to have space, to access space, and to take advantage of space. If you don't have any of that, that takes away a huge amount of leeway for you to work with. Now we saw in the first match, Charlotte would shift a lot of their personnel to one side. They would leave Joel Johnson open and exposed on the other side, leaving him in that 1v1 um, along the sideline time and time again. But I can't imagine they're going to come in with that same tactic this time.
Yeah, I think they'll definitely have looked at the tape from the last match and kind of understood that they're not going to have the space, as you said, to be able to move how they usually do. And it really negates a whole lot of what makes Charlotte such a good team. Their ability to be able to spread you out and then hit you with their extremely athletic players, um, and being able to do it with the ball. Charlotte doesn't beat you a whole lot with passing you to death like somebody like a Greenville does or like an Omaha does. They one on one just player for player beat you. That's how they win because they have very talented athletic guys. Um, that being said, the only thing does that does beat that is group defense, which unfortunately for Charlotte, Union Omaha does very well. Union Omaha knows how to swarm the ball, uh, and the ball handler very well and be able to cut those passing lanes down and those lanes to get shots in down. So they they know how to beat this Charlotte team. Um, but Charlotte also knows how to beat this Omaha team. So, granted, as you said, it was on the bigger pitch out in Charlotte, but um, yeah, a pretty evenly matched match here between these two sides, all things considered.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how Charlotte adjusts to returning to Warner Park. They did have that scoreless draw the first time they played. They did have that massive loss in the second time they came to Warner Park. So how are they going to adjust to Warner Park a third time? And what kind of personnel are they going to throw out there? Are they going to have late subs the way that they did in week 30? It's just there's a lot of question marks as to what Charlotte's going to bring this time around.
Hmm.
And you have to believe that Corey Bennett's going to start. You have to believe that Gabriel Oberson's going to start.
Yeah.
It's just how they're going to move the personnel around to try to draw defenders out of their position, open up space, and try to access it.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. And then it's going to be interesting to watch Union Omaha and their defensive shape and how they adjust. I mean, this is going to be just such a fun match to watch, just because of the tactics that you're going to be seeing as the match draws on. It's going to be oh, I'm so excited for this one.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean, there's a little bit of data here that you've been able to scrounge up too. That um, if we're looking at it all things considered, it a lower scoring match is going to benefit Charlotte more than it is Union Omaha. Union Omaha does not win close matches at anywhere near the clip that they do when they score anything above 2 goals. Um, Union Omaha at home, um, only scoring 1 goal, has not won. They've drawn twice and they've lost twice. Um, Whereas when they score over two or over goals, they are a combined 11, 1, and 0 at home. So if
That's
Omaha
crazy.
gets 2 goals, they should be feeling pretty good. Um, and Charlotte away has never scored more than 3. Um, so they're also going to need to be scoring goals because when they only score 1 goal away, they also have no wins. So both teams are going to be looking to really push and score a lot of goals and just wear the other side down. Um, they It's just something they're going to have to do, and something that both of these teams are very good at as well.
Yeah, these two have swung at each other. I mean, just with huge, offensive opportunities throughout the season. They've actually dealt each other their worst losses this season. Let me try to find that one here. So, Union Omaha's biggest defeat on the road was a 0-3 defeat against Charlotte. Charlotte's biggest defeat on the road was a 4-1 loss in Omaha. So these two have swung and dealt some major blows against each other. That's why another chapter of this matchup, just get your popcorn ready.
Mhm.
It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, yeah. And one thing we're definitely going to have to be looking out for as well in this match is who is going to step up for both of these teams to score the goals. Um, you look at Charlotte; they are very evenly spread as far as their goal scorers. Tresser and Mbuyu, the leading scorer on the team with 9, Dane Kelly right behind him with 8, and Joel Johnson right behind him with 7. And then Corey Bennett right behind him with 6 goals. So very spread out, very nice, even spread um, of goals. But you flip the script and you look at Union Omaha, they are really led by two guys, Steven Dos Santos and Noe Meza. Um, the with 13 goals for Steven Dos Santos and 12 for Noe Meza. The next leading scorer on Union Omaha is JP Skierce with 6, two of which being penalties. So you really have to, if you're Charlotte, you need to make sure that the two strikers up top, Dos Santos and Meza, if they even play together, they haven't been playing together to start matches. So that'll be another interesting little fold. But with one of them on the pitch, it'll be interesting to see if Charlotte kind of keys on those guys and makes somebody else beat you.
Yeah, what I do like to see from the Union Omaha scoring, committee that we have here, four of the players that we've highlighted here have four or more first goals.
Mm-hmm.
So Steven Dos Santos, Noe Meza, JP Scarce, Pedro Dolbella, all have four or more first goals. So that is another huge factor for Charlotte's defense, because if you have that many players who can contribute to get the first goal, I mean, just like we were saying last week when Charlotte was playing, oh geez, Greenville. I mean, who are you gonna guard first? Well, now it's Charlotte's turn. I mean, you're looking
Mm-hmm.
at this lineup of Union Omaha players. Who are you gonna guard first? There's so many scorers there.
Yeah. Yeah. And where Charlotte gets a lot of their production from their forwards and wingers, you have Union Omaha who gets a whole lot from their forwards, but then the rest of it is all midfielders and attacking midfielders. So you can really kind of tell what Omaha likes to do. Um, they like to get the ball into the center of the field and take care of it from there. So it'll be super interesting to see if Charlotte kind of adjusts from the last time that they played and are able to key on some of those corners and uh, free kick balls that are being swung in that Union Omaha likes to try to score on and is very good at scoring on. With guys like Skierce and Dolabella both being able to contribute to that.
Yeah, so if you are in the Omaha area, if you are visiting Omaha, if you are if you are going to be going to this match, do not let the weather take you out of this opportunity to see this firsthand. Yes, the weather's going to be cold. It may be rainy. There's a chance of snow, whatever. Don't worry about that. Dress with plenty of layers. Get into Warner Park. Get a good spot to watch this match and enjoy it, because it's going to be good.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely.
All right. So, goalkeepers, who are you giving the advantage to? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's tough. Playoffs, I got to go with experience, so I got to give it to Rashid New.
Yeah. I'll do the same. Backline.
Oh, Union Omaha. I
Okay.
think Union Omaha's defense is better than Charlotte's defense.
Yeah, they are drastically improved from where they were at the beginning of the season, and I like where they're currently at. So yeah, I'll give the edge to Union Omaha too. Midfield.
I got it right
Yes,
there, Tim.
there you go.
Tim saying something that which keeper has his own bobblehead. There's your answer. True.
All right, midfield.
I got to go with Union Omaha again. I because they're a team that can play out of the midfield and chooses to play through the midfield a little bit more than Charlotte does with a little bit more of a run and gun style. Uh, Advantage for me goes to Union Omaha.
Yeah, I feel like Charlotte has plenty of influence in the midfield, but not all of those players are midfielders.
Yeah.
And so when you look at when you compare line versus line, I would give the edge to Union Omaha. Luis Heel, JP Skiers,
Mhm.
Pedro Dolabella, Joe Burrito, Joe Gallardo. I mean, when you look at those names and the contributions they've had to Union Omaha's season, it's hard to deny them and not give them the advantage in this situation.
Yep. Agreed.
All right, strikers.
I mean, you have two guys in the double digits for Union Omaha, and they're both strikers. So, I mean, I gotta give the nod to Union Omaha. I think Union Omaha, yeah, it gets a clean sweep in this one.
Yeah. I think the comparison between the goalkeepers is the closest, but I think the
Hmm.
next closest is the strikers.
Yeah, I you could be arguing for Charlotte strikers, um, but it, to me, they're more of a unit, and with that one without the other, um, we kind of see what happens when they're not all on the field at the same time because the way that they play, you have to draw attention to all of their forwards and their strikers, whereas Union Omaha usually only plays with a central striker. So just feel like Union Omaha does it with one guy, whereas Charlotte is a committee up front, more like.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a close call between the two groups, but yeah, I would agree with you. I'd have to give the edge to Union Omaha as well. Okay, we are down to predictions.
Hmm.
What you thinking?
Um, it's going to be close. Definitely going to be close for long stretches of this match, but I just feel like Omaha has too much talent and are riding too big of a high, um, to let it down. I think Union Omaha advances to the final, and they beat the Independents 4-2.
Okay, I was gonna say 3-1, so we're not far off from each other.
No, I think it'll be close, and Omaha will score a late one in pretty much garbage time, just with Charlotte committing numbers forward to try to get the draw and catching them out on a break.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the first semifinal. Now we can jump into the second one. Do we have anything in the chat we need to catch up on?
Tim was just saying as well earlier, wind and rain will affect that also. Maneuverability on the touch lines and end lines are going to be tricky. The ball will likely
Yeah.
get out of play a lot quicker.
Yes, it will.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good point. If the ball's going to be moving that quickly, you have to think that they're going to be doing a lot more short passes
Hmm.
to be able to control the ball rather than trying to do direct balls over the top. Because with that kind of stuff, the ball is just going to skid off the grass and it's going to like shoot straight forward. And
Hmm.
it's going to be a lot tougher for the top line to catch up to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this one could be a battle of the close knit passing going up the field.
Which favors Union Omaha as well.
Or it could be one of those where a player kicks the ball, 20 yards in front of them, and it's just a dead sprint to go catch up to it before
Favors
crossing into the
Charlotte.
box. Yeah, yeah. So,
It depends on how the ball is played. I mean,
yeah,
that's really what it's going to come down to.
there's that mixed dichotomy there. So
Hmm.
there's so much to see, so much to anticipate ahead of the semifinal. That's why it's so much like I'm just so excited for this one.
Yeah. Oh, and then my mom also saying that I do have my own bobblehead, and yes, I do. And I have shown it before, but I'll show it again. I do have my own personal bobblehead.
Yeah.
Shout out, mom. Thank you guys.
And I love how you put it next to the Nuhu bobblehead too.
Oh yeah, got to.
Perfect pairing right there.
Right. Yes, somebody with actual athletic talent next to somebody without any athletic talent. Perfect.
That's awesome. All right, so the second semifinal is Saturday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. This one's going to be in Cary, North Carolina, as North Carolina hosts Northern Colorado Hailstorm. And this one, so we just talked about all the stuff that's going to be happening between Union Omaha and Charlotte. This one between North Carolina and Northern Colorado is going to be a totally different style, a totally different flavor of soccer when you
Hmm.
tune into the broadcast.
Yes.
Um, I think this one's going to be a spicy one, and we'll tell you why in just a little bit. But um, this is going to be North Carolina's first time hosting a League One playoff match, and it's going to be, I mean, unless they make the final, if Union Omaha loses, they will. This will be the only time that they host a League One playoff match since they're going to championship next season.
Yep.
This is Northern Colorado's third time visiting Cary, North Carolina this season. So similar situation to Charlotte visiting Union Omaha. And um, for North Carolina, there has been a first half goal scored in the last 22 matches. So
Wow.
that deadlock is not going to last for very long in the match.
No, you wouldn't expect it to with these two, honestly.
Every home match has had a first half goal, and North Carolina has scored before halftime in their last 5 matches. Um, and both clubs, when playing, when North Carolina is playing, uh, oh my gosh, let me start over on this one. When North Carolina has hosted a home
Hmm.
match, the last 6 of those matches has seen both sides score. And I mean, we can't sit here and say that Northern Colorado is going to be shut out. We know that Northern Colorado is going to score.
Yeah.
And here's where it gets a little interesting because Northern Colorado has kept a clean sheet in their last 3 away matches. But when we talked about that spice, here's where it is. The last 6 times these two clubs have faced off, there has been a card in the first 30 minutes of the match.
Yikes.
Combine that with Northern Colorado's record of having 13 away matches with 4 or more yellow cards.
I mean, it, it's great that they reset for the playoffs, but
Yeah.
um, I mean, I think that is just more of the style of play that they do. They're very aggressive. Isn't the best word to use. They're a very physical team. They take on challenges head on, and they're not afraid to stick their foot in on balls, and that has gotten them this far in the playoffs. And so I don't expect them to change it. And um, we've all heard Eamon Zayed on the sideline. We know that he is a fiery guy, so I can only assume his team is going to carry that fire as well. Um, which is going to be interesting to watch and see how North Carolina is able to kind of deal with that. Um, Traditionally, in the past, they've dealt with it pretty well. I think they're a pretty veteran team that kind of knows how to play the game. So it'll be interesting to see if their composure kind of holds against Northern Colorado because a lot of teams they don't. They get sucked into the trap of playing that physical game, which is exactly what Northern Colorado wants you to do.
Mhm.
See, I've slipped
Yeah.
up once already too.
Northern Colorado plays with a very direct, free flowing style of play.
Hmm.
Oh, damn it. There it is. I got it.
That's
Okay.
three.
Yep. North Carolina is very methodical in their build up play and their offensive opportunities, just the development from the back line to the front line. Mixed approaches to the game between these two clubs.
Hmm.
So I think that North Carolina is going to be more about absorbing Northern Colorado's attack and trying to go on the counter. rather than trying to force the turnover, establish possession, and try to dominate possession as they move up the field. I think this one's going to be more about counter attacking against Northern Colorado.
Hmm.
And when you have the players that North Carolina does, those counterattacks are going to look very, very good.
Yeah. Yeah. This will
Just
be.
looking at just
Yeah.
looking at like Olex Anderson, Rafa Menzigen feeding Olex Anderson, um, Garrett McLaughlin up top. I mean, he's got some speed. He can jump on those wheels and make it happen. Luis Perez, Jaden Cervania. I mean, this is a group of North Carolina players who can really pinpoint the opposition's weaknesses and feed into those spaces directly. So once they find those um oh the matchups like the oh my gosh, what am I thinking of here? Once they find those weaknesses in the matchups and the individual 1v1s, they're going to be going right after that
Hmm.
time and time again.
Yep.
But Northern Colorado is going to be all about feeding Trevor Ammon over the top through the direct balls, the through balls, all that kind of stuff. They're just going to be a very fast, direct style of play in this one. Which,
Yeah.
if you look at the history between these two, hasn't exactly served Northern Colorado all that well because North Carolina has defeated Northern Colorado twice this season.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, we look at everything here in this match. I mean, you look at the home and away ranks; these two are right next to each other. With North Carolina being a little bit worse at home than Northern Colorado is away. Um, but the stats between these two teams super close all the way around. Um, the big factor for me in this one is Northern Colorado has been able to keep 7 away clean sheets. That is huge. If we go and look at records with goals allowed, um, with yeah, I mean obviously with goals allowed, you have 7 clean sheets. You're gonna win the majority of those matches, right? Um, but if we go and we look at where these teams do their best work, both of these teams are great when they only allow a single goal. And even looking up further, Northern Colorado a little bit better, scoring or letting 2 goals in just because of sheer fact that they can score a lot of goals, right? Um, but anything over 3 and they drop pretty quickly. And North Carolina at 5-0-1 when scoring 3 goals this season. So big key here is whether or not Northern Colorado can keep a clean sheet away like they have 7 times already this season. Tough to do against this North Carolina team, though. This North Carolina team has scored 58 goals this season. They're not pushovers when it comes to that. Um, so it'll definitely be interesting to see which one of these two offenses is going to come out firing on all cylinders because I don't expect a whole lot of defense in this one.
I don't either. And that's a really good point. So looking at who's going to come out guns and blazing, these teams both have players who have double digits in first goals. North Carolina has Olex Anderson with 10 first goals. Northern Colorado has Trevor Ammon with 14 first goals. That's a heavy influence on getting this match going.
Hmm. Yeah, but the real issue for me with Northern Colorado is who else can step up if Trevor Ammon is not hitting. I mean, that's really bold to say that he would never not be on because he has been on all season. He scored 26 goals this season. So, but if you look at the next highest scoring on Northern Colorado's team, it's Billy King with 8 goals. That is a huge disparity and something that you're going to have to look at if you're Northern Col. See, 5 now. If you're North Carolina, you have to shut Trevor Amon down. You make somebody else beat you. You say, if we're going to lose this match, it's not going to be because the Golden Boot winner beats us. It is because Hernandez or King or Rendon beat us. And on the flip side, Northern Colorado has to look out for North Carolina's entire front attack. They're another team that spreads it out really well with Anderson with 17 goals, Rafa Mensingen with 13, Garrett McLaughlin with 9, and Louis Perez with 7. So those 4 guys, all guys you hear their names on a regular, consistent basis, and guys that can hit it from outside the box. That is something that North Carolina also does very well, is being able to score outside the box. Obviously, with Rafa Mensingen, we know Union Omaha fans know all too well what he can do from outside the box, and he's proven it again this year with North Carolina. So we talked about North Carolina shutting down Trevor Ammon for Northern Colorado. Northern Colorado needs to shut down the outside of the box shots from guys like Mensingen or even Anderson. I mean, both of those players can shoot from outside the box and probably have the green light to do so.
Yeah, the offensive threats that North Carolina has as they advance up the field are just in general very incredible. Um, the thing that really seems to have a play here for me, whereas when we talk about Charlotte combining, I we talk about them combining in those very tight knit spaces, moving up the field into the final third. With North Carolina, I feel like the build up play happens a whole lot earlier in the field, and the goal scorer receives the ball at an earlier portion of the field before they score the goal. I could be wrong on that one. It's going to take some research, but when you have players, I feel like when we talk about North Carolina, it's like Garrett McLaughlin and um, Olex Anderson running with the ball toward the goal. I feel like that's the constant thread when we imagine North Carolina goals throughout the this entire season.
Hmm.
Um, so that's one of the things that Northern Colorado has to watch out for. Those those unbalanced offensive attacks that will surprise you, open up some space, and allow a player to have free reign to run at the goal. They're gonna have
Hmm.
to do a very good job of communicating across that back line to mark their man, watch them as they slide across the back line, um, make sure that everybody's on the same page because Olex Anderson, he's the guy that if you give him an inch, he's gonna take a mile.
Hmm.
He's proven that time and time again throughout this season, and that's why he has 17 goals this season. Especially when you're going down to Cary, North Carolina, and you're playing on that huge, huge field. The dimension we're playing on the smallest field in League One in one semifinal and the biggest in the other semifinal.
Hmm.
The dimensions of those field are going to have an obvious impact on the outcome of this match.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it's definitely going to be something to look out for. And I if we're just looking at both of these teams' runs of form. I mean, both playing great down the stretch, um, and both of these two teams have the some of the biggest names in League One this season. So it is definitely going to be one where you're going to know every single name that the announcer is calling out on this one. You will have heard them multiple times, and it's just it's whoever can step up and 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 win the day for their team. Obviously, one thing we also haven't mentioned yet um, is the assist leaders for both of these teams. Obviously, Arthur Rogers, another award winner, um, with 11 assists this season, but still guys like Billy King, Lucky Oprah, uh, Powder, and even Trevor Ammon getting in on the assisting for Northern Colorado. A little bit more spread out. It's Northern Colorado again is one of those teams where the top guy is the guy, and everybody else is at a significant disadvantage when it comes to their numbers. It seems to be a two-man show for the most part for them, whereas North Carolina, again, consistent throughout. McLaughlin 7, Anderson 6, Menzigen 5, Servania 4, Somersault 3. I mean, all within a nice even spread there. Um, so it's really going to be a burst offense versus a consistent offense in this one, which again, just like the other match, it's two dueling styles of play and two dueling styles of coaching. So I think it's most teams in this league are not that different from each other, but I think all four of the teams that have made the semifinals all have their own particular brand of play. So that's actually something really interesting to look forward to um, for these last two matches of the season.
Yep. All right. Advantage with the goalkeepers.
Oh, oh. Mm, let's see. Let me go back. I think I'm gonna have to go with Northern Colorado for this one.
I agree. I like Delgado.
Hmm.
We've also seen, you know, the goalkeeper duties split over at North Carolina between Nick Holiday and Brooks Thompson. Even Tor Saunders and Trevor Mulqueen getting some time
Hmm.
throughout the season, but with Nick Holiday and Brooks Thompson splitting the duties, whereas Lalo has been playing the entire season. Um, but even overall, I would give the edge to Lalo Delgado.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right, back line.
Let me get the. I got to be looking at it really to get the full effect here. Give me 1 second. Pull them up. It's a good lineup. Live radio, everybody. There we go. Um, again, it kind of just depends on the style that you prefer. As far as pure defenders and being able to have your defenders kind of influence the flow of play between attacking and defending, I'm giving the nod again to Northern Colorado on this one. Um, I mean, you got guys like Lucky Oprah and Bruno Rendon that can are box to box defenders, and a big physical presence that Cornwall is in that back line. I mean, it's tough to compete against that.
Yeah, I'll give the edge to Hailstorm on that one too. All right, midfield.
Yeah, this is kind of where it starts to switch around. This one for me is NCFC. I mean, Perez, Mensingen, Ariaga, Summersall. I mean, you take your pick. I mean, those are some of the more elite defender or midfielders in the league as well. So NCFC gets the nod for that one for me.
Yeah, yep, I agree. I'll give the edge to North Carolina there. All right, strikers.
Strikers, it's got to be NCFC.
See,
Striker, Northern
you caught
Colorado.
on to what I was gonna talk about there.
Yeah, obviously, Northern Colorado plays the single striker, whereas NCFC plays dual strikers. So, um, as we kind of talked about before, I feel like it is better for a team to have more than one option on the field at any given time. So I give the nod to NCFC, knowing full well that the runaway Golden Boot winner is on the other side, but I would rather have multiple options personally than just a single option.
Yeah, I I wholeheartedly agree with you. Yep, I give the edge to North Carolina here too, purely because of the plural form. Like you said, you got to have more options, and with North Carolina's options, yeah, I would give them the edge.
Still keeping count. Um, yeah, all in all, this match is going to be very exciting to watch. I am very happy that this one is taking place at 6:30 our time, so it'll be just enough time for me to get home and turn this one on to be able to watch it. So
Yeah,
um, this one is definitely going to be a lot closer. I have a feeling than the Union Omaha um, and Charlotte match.
I agree. But how close? Let's get into predictions.
Mm. Let's see how many times here. Let's do quick. Hmm. For this one, I just I really think it's going to come down to um, keying on Trevor Ammon and shutting him down. And if NCFC is able to do that, I think they do win the match. That being said, I don't think they're going to be able to control him. I this one I'm feeling Northern Colorado gets the win 3-2.
Wow. Okay, that actually surprises me because these two have faced off 3 times in 9 weeks at the end of the season. They started their first match against each other was week 20, so
Hmm.
they had to do their 3 match series in those last 10 weeks of the season. And in those matchups, they no team scored more than 2 goals in a single match. Um, so with that said, and with the spice that we talked about earlier, I think it's gonna be a 2-1 victory, but I'm gonna go North Carolina on this one. I think they're gonna take full advantage of the big field. They're used to playing on it. They
Hmm.
know how to work it, and I think they're gonna finish out with a 2-1 victory.
That's fair. I can't argue with that logic either.
Yeah,
Either way, we know both of these matches are going to be terrific matches, and I mean they're the four best teams in League One this season. Um, you got what you wanted if you were a fan of one of these teams, or if you're neutral, just wanting to watch the best soccer possible. Here you go.
yeah. Alright, so that finishes up the previews of both of the semifinal matches. let's get into the Q&A. I didn't see any on social media, but let me ask you a cool question.
Sure.
What matchup would you like to see most in the final?
Mm. Personally or quote unquote professionally?
Yes.
It's the same answer. Union Omaha and Northern Colorado.
Okay. Um,
Coincidentally, also my picks.
yeah. Yeah. If I'm voting with my heart, I'm going to go with Union Omaha and Northern Colorado. At the same time, I also want to see Union Omaha play against North Carolina, but I'm going to give the ed. I would much rather see Union Omaha play Northern Colorado. Um, if that were to happen, hopefully the guys from Lenders and Wizards would be able to make it out to Warner
Hmm.
Park so that we could hang out. It was really cool to see Kyle making the trip out to Windsor
Hmm.
for the quarterfinal match. That was really cool. I think there were a handful of Ford Madison fans that made it out there.
Yeah, it looked like there was quite a few. You could hear them on the broadcast as well.
You
So
could hear them, yeah,
a very vocal and very passionate fan base. So kudos to them as always.
yeah, yeah. So I would rather see, like, I'd love to see the tactical battle between Union Omaha and North Carolina,
Hmm.
but I love the ferocity that would come from Union Omaha and Northern Colorado.
Yeah.
It would just be fast paced. It would be physical. There would be a ton of emotion. Whereas I feel like if you're watching Union Omaha play North Carolina, it's more of cerebral,
Hmm. So
like that
that's a
chess
really,
match.
yeah, really good way to put that. Yeah. It should be good either way. I mean, no matter what final we end up getting. I mean, obviously, being Union Omaha fans, we want to see Union Omaha in, but I think all four of these teams are deserving of a spot in the finals. So um, I think it'll be good, and it'll be uh, it'll be good for the league, no matter who ends up being in it.
Yep. And can you imagine if uh I'm just gonna throw this out there. If Charlotte and North Carolina won, I mean, the League One final would be a North Carolina showdown.
Hmm. Yeah,
I think that would be pretty cool too.
yeah, a lot of storylines be good on that one.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like I said, it's going to be a good last couple matches of the season here. So
Yep.
looking forward to it.
All right. Do we have any questions in social media or anything like that? I'm not seeing anything in the chat.
Do not, and I
Oh,
do not remember seeing any on social media, but I will double check.
cool.
I do not.
Cool. Okay. Well, in that case, thanks everybody for joining for another episode of League One on the Rocks. Some great action for the semifinals coming this weekend. Hopefully, we gave you a good preview. We'll be posting some stuff on social media leading up to the semifinals. And tune in next week for another edition of the podcast as we dive into the finals.
Be great.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
All right, thanks, guys.